ladies and gentlemen. Rey Ybarra here, and very, very excited. We have a friend back on the program, Chef Cherie Hunter. She wrote an incredible book, a sequel, Married with Kids and Loving It, Part 2. And I love that title, by the way. It's really cool. She's an author, chef, business owner, entrepreneur, and a Marine who served our country with distinction and honorably for 8 years. Thank you for your service, Cherie. She's also the owner of the Global Love Catering business, a veteran minority and woman-owned business. We welcome back to the program our friend Cherie Hunter. And Cherie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I would like to start with this here. You have a book, Married with Kids and Loving It, Part 2. I love that title because I can get a visual in my head of that being a really cool part 2 to a movie, a really fun movie. So let's talk about your book here.
Yes, Married with Kids, Part 2. Part 1 was a little look into who I am as a wife and a mother. Mm-hmm. Part 2 came about because my kids love my cooking. And my oldest asked me about how was he going to get my chicken and dumplings when he grew up, when he moved out the house. And I told them that I would write all the recipes down in a book. And when each of them left home, I would give them a copy of the book. Well, then it was, why don't I create the book and not just for my children, but for others to give to their children when they move out, or for them to enjoy in the home with their children. So I wrote Married with Kids and Loving It, Part 2.
Yeah, that is a great story. And, that really hits home with me, Cherie. And I'll tell you why, because when my mother passed away, sadly, I did not get any of the recipes that she made of all of her food that she cooked, all of the Mexican dishes that she cooked from scratch. I didn't get any of that. And I tell my wife to this day that I can still taste and smell the foods that she made for me, but I don't know how to go back and I don't know how to recreate them. So this is so important. It's just much more than a cookbook, is it?
Yes, very much more. And I know with men and boys, a lot of them didn't grow up in the kitchen, with their mothers. A lot of the girls did, but and it's sad, but it is what it is. And I know for me, I made sure that my boys knew how to cook. I made sure that they were in the kitchen with me, but at the same time, we all know us cooking something isn't going to taste exactly the same as mom doing it, but we could get close. And with them having the recipes, I know you're always going to feel it's not the same, but you'll get close with the cookbook.
Now, an interesting point here is that your dad was a chef, and you say that your dad was a chef and that you spent a lot of time, he was in the kitchen there cooking, and there was a lot of time spent. So talk to us about your father and what an influence he was for you.
Oh, yes, my dad. He is a chef. He's actually still chefing it up to this day. He works offshore on the oil rigs, cooking for them. Cooking in the kitchen with my dad, everything was from scratch. My dad did not believe in box mixes, and it was always a learning curve experience and a delight cooking in the kitchen with him. Learning new recipes, smelling different spices and herbs. We even gardened. We grew our own jalapeno peppers, bell peppers, tomatoes, and we cooked with them. And it was a real joy. And he instilled a lot of values of cooking from scratch, not depending on a box.
Now, I think what is really interesting is the fact that you didn't know, even though your dad was a big influence on you and you spent a lot of time in the kitchen and around him. Uh, you didn't come to the realization, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but you didn't come to the realization that this is what you wanted to do until you were honorably discharged from the Marines and you were an adult. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I always loved cooking, and I always loved cooking for crowds, but I don't know, something clicked once I was honorably discharged from the military that I just, it's like a seed, a bulb planted. It needs the time, the water to be nourished. And then all of a sudden, it just blossoms. And that's how it was with me with cooking. I always loved to cook. I was always creating something. But that burst to bring it to share it with others other than just my family did not happen until after I was honorably discharged from the Marine Corps.
Now, you spent 8 years in the Marine Corps, and from what I understand, you were helping fight the bad guys as well. And you did that with distinction. You have a lot of honors. In your career in the military, did you cook at all when you were in the military for your fellow Marines at all, or did you serve any time in the kitchen there doing that, or no?
Uh, for my Marines and the Marines, my husband was a Marine as well. He served 8 years and was honorably discharged as well. And whenever he was on duty, I would cook a meal and take him and whoever he was on duty with dinner. And every time he had duty, whoever he was on duty with would be happy they were on duty with him because they know they were going to get fed that night.
They were going to get home cooked meals instead of mess hall meals, right?
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fantastic. Well, what prompted you to join the Marines? What was it about it that you were looking to get out of joining the Marines?
Believe it or not, going to college.
Okay,
And I wanted to go to college to be a lawyer. Yeah.
interesting.
In high school, I was a part of my high school's mock trial team,
Hmm.
which is a kind of a legal team. And we had competitions where you would they would give you a fake case and you would go up against another school and go to court and try to get someone off from doing a crime.
Hmm.
And we made it pretty far. And my school was actually in the newspaper doing this, and I was in the newspaper on the mock trial team, and I really thought that's what I wanted to do. And I know that law school isn't cheap, so I figured going to the Marine Corps and having them pay for college. And also, I come from a background of Marines. My dad was a Marine. I have two uncles that were Marines. On my dad's brothers were Marines. and a cousin of mine on my dad's side was a Marine. So the military Marine Corps blood runs through my veins, I guess you could say.
Right.
So
So there's a
yeah.
long tradition there, and I think what's really cool is that. Well, let me backtrack here just a second here. What persuaded you to go in a different direction when you already had something of law school and joined in the military for that reason to go to law school? What was the deciding factor for you to switch over to a career as a chef?
I would say the more I entertained with cooking. Every duty station, I was stationed in North Carolina, and then I was stationed in California. And at each duty station, of course, we made friends, and we had brothers and sisters in the Marine Corps that we bonded with, and we would always have parties and celebrate birthdays. And I'd always find myself cooking and entertaining. And the more I did it, the more I truly enjoyed it. The more they requested my food, the more I found knocks at the door on days where I thought it was just us. And I've got people added to the dinner table. So the love for entertaining and feeding the masses grew.
So isn't that interesting how another door I find this fascinating that I always hear this in stories of successful entrepreneurs such as yourself that you start out with one thing that you want to do and then a door inadvertently opens and you go through that and that's the career path and vocation. It calls you. It's a calling that you go through that door and that's what you end up doing. That's what happened to me. I jumped into media actually kind of by mistake. I had sights on being a therapist, and then the door opened up for an opportunity for a broadcast radio. I jumped through it and I haven't looked back. So I find that that's very fascinating that all creative people and successful people such as yourself that are entrepreneurs, that usually happens. And and you've been very, very successful at it. You have a global Love Catering, that's your business. And
Yes.
so, talk to us about how that evolved, your love of food into a catering business.
Well, the catering business part of it um is really the second part to it.
Mhm.
What I really want and what I'm really passionate for is being a personal chef,
Okay.
being able to go into the home and cooking for the family, being able to help them regain their family time. Because we all know in the world that we live in, the hustle and bustle and the no one sits down to a family dinner hardly anymore. And I know for me, I grew up on that. You know, even though we had sports, um, my parents always made time for at least 2 to 3 times a week. We sat down as a family, everyone at the dinner table.
Mhm.
And that time is precious. But now with families divided and you take this one to this practice and this one to this practice, eating at separate times, there's no real family time anymore. So being a personal chef, being able to go into the home and cook for them to be able to give them that time back to where they can spend time together, eating together, to be able to ask each other, how was your day?
Mhm.
Is my goal.
Yeah, especially now when we live in, of course, the social media age I know that you've gone through it and continue to go through it with your children.
Yes.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe you said that there's no digital phones at the table when you sit down to eat. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct.